I hope that you have had a good morning of sessions. And so this afternoon, we are going to begin learning about Remind, which is a new tool that the district purchased specifically to be able to share notifications with families, and also because we needed a mechanism to be able to place and receive calls from a safe, secure number. So Stephen Dorsalian is here from Remind, and he is going to give us, I think, like a 30-minute 101. Is that right, Stephen?
That's, yeah.
Right. And so we are working with our hardworking IT folks to get this online for you all. So you're going to get the information today, and as much as you retain, and then anything you forget, we can get Stephen back to, I hope, to do some more training with us as the year gets up and running. So think of this as sort of an overview, just to sort of give you some good basic working knowledge. Does that sound about right, Stephen?
That's perfect, yeah.
All right. And you're gonna have tons of questions, I would imagine, so please drop those in the chat or take advantage of Stephen being here to give you just this brief overview. So with that, Stephen, do you need to be able to share your screen?
I do. Let me test that right now. Yeah, if you could either make me a co-host or allow me access.
I just changed it. You should be all set.
Perfect. Got it. Okay.
Good to go. All right. So I'm going to turn over to Stephen. Thank you, folks.
Appreciate it, Marie. Well, first of all, let me introduce myself. Hi, everyone. My name is Steve. I'm with Remind, of course, and essentially I'm the district's relationship partner. So any support-related questions that the district has sort of lean on me, and then throughout the year, I share some best practices and new features as they come up. So just for sort of housekeeping, I did leave my email address in the chat field. So if you have any questions, please do let me know. And I also left the link to our sort of our teacher onboarding guide. There's a really short video in there. So just in case you missed anything or you want to go a little deeper into anything, please feel free to drop it in there. As Marie sort of alluded to, I'll be running through really two big things. One, what you can expect as far as communications in the upcoming days or weeks. I know we are sort of working very hard to get your accounts up and running and to get rostering done, and I'll explain a little bit about rostering in just a bit, and then we'll briefly walk through the dashboard. If you have any questions, either drop it in the chat field, jump off mute and ask however you feel more comfortable. Marie, if you wouldn't mind fielding some of those questions for me, I'll try to glance over at the chat, but I may miss a few things. So why don't we go ahead and get started. So for the folks who are not familiar with Remind, we're a communication platform, and essentially we help educators communicate with parents and students. And what that means is, as a teacher, you can download our mobile app, or you can use our web portal to communicate with your parents and students and sort of reach them where they are. Meaning, if you have parents and students who are most comfortable with text messaging, or if they're most comfortable with the mobile app, or web portal, or email, these various different sort of communication channels, we will get your message to them. One other thing, you never have to share your personal information. So the peace of mind of knowing that personal information isn't shared, teachers really enjoy. You can also set office hours in the communication platform. I'll describe what that is in just a bit. And one other thing is communications are recorded on the back end. So if for any reason you need to pull message history, again, for any reason, we do have the capability to do so. So why don't we jump into a few things as far as messaging is concerned. And then again, I'm going to jump into what you can expect as far as communications are concerned, and then we'll jump into the platform. So I want to touch on translation. I know that's really important to a lot of districts. So we have two main ways of translating messages when we send them out. So again, I'm a teacher and I'm sending a message out to my parents and students. So how does Remind Translate work? We can translate a message one of two ways, essentially. The first way is a manual translate, which I'll show you once we jump into the dashboard, and everything will sort of start to come together then. We can translate a message in over 85 languages manually. So powered by Google Translate, so that's one feature. We can also do it auto translate. So if a parent or a student has our mobile app and has their phone set to their native language, we're up to 9 languages at this point. You as a teacher, if you send a message out in English, that message will automatically translate over into their home language. And then as they reply in their native language, that message is gonna translate back over for you. Again, it'll make a little more sense once I jump into the platform, but that's our auto translate feature. And again, it's a little dependent on them having the mobile app, but they are capable of doing so. I think someone is drawing on my screen, but no worries. I'm gonna move along to Google Classroom. So if you are using Google Classroom, we do have a native integration with them. So you can pull in your content and your materials directly from Google Classroom as well. And a little more on the housekeeping side, because I definitely want to show you what you're going to expect moving forward. So Marie just mentioned it. We use rostering, and the folks who aren't familiar with rostering, we essentially pull in information from your student information system. So we're going to be pulling this in from Clever, and essentially this is how we're going to create your accounts, and this is how we're going to create and populate your classes as well. So that manual sort of side of it is taken out of your hands, and the district will take it upon themselves to create accounts for folks, create classes, and populate with the appropriate people. So what do you expect as far as communications are concerned? You're gonna get an email that looks like this. It's gonna ask you, have you used Remind before, in a sense. So it'll first ask you, it'll first tell you that your district is on Remind, and to claim your account. And then it's gonna give you two options. It's gonna allow you to select, yes, I've used Remind before, or no, I've not. And the reason why I ask is because we have folks who have been using Remind for a while and may want to merge their existing account with their new account. So this is really for the folks who aren't new to Remind, but are looking to sort of, again, merge their accounts together. And then you're going to get a list of your classrooms that the district is merging in for you. Again, I'm going to be sharing this all afterwards. So don't feel as though you have to take notes or remember everything. I'll definitely share this out afterwards. But let's go ahead and jump into the platform, because I think that's the most important thing. And I definitely want to spend the most time doing that, just to show you sort of how it works. This is going to be the main dashboard. As you can see here, this is just sort of a dummy class I have, my history class. Towards the left, you're going to see all the organizations that you may be a part of. So you may be a teacher at multiple schools. You'll see those schools to the left, and you'll see the classes that you own, and potentially any classes that you're also a part of. Before I jump into messaging, any questions on sort of the intro stuff, like what Remind is, functionality? If not, I can just jump into it and it'll start again, becoming a little more clear. Yes.
This is Marie. So there were just a couple questions in the chat, and one I think you answered. It was that the teacher has been using Remind already and set up classrooms. Will the district's purchase affect that? And I think the slide that you showed here shows that you can move over without losing your content, correct?
That is correct, yeah. So once rostering is complete, so again, with rostering, we create accounts for folks, and that's gonna be based off your work email address. You're gonna get an email, again, it looks just like this, asks you to claim your account, and then it's gonna give you an opportunity to merge your account together.
Great. And then there's a question. So I received an email just a couple days ago saying that the integration was on hold. Do you have a sense of the timeline? There's a question about, do you have a sense for when we'll get this email? Worried about the number of things having to wait to implement, not just Remind, but other things that we're sort of doing. So do you have a sense of when that integration for us will be completed?
I would definitely say next week. I know we lifted, and not to get too technical, but we lifted the gate on Clever yesterday. So that allows you to connect the schools. And then sort of once all the formatting is complete, which in Clever it's relatively easy, we can start pumping in the data essentially. So I would say sometime next week.
And then I'll just give you one more. We have our classroom teachers, right, have students rostered, and that rostering is going to happen. And then we have other folks, let's say teacher librarians, we have other specialists that work with students. So can you talk a little bit about how those folks will also be able to access Remind?
Absolutely, absolutely. So first, I'm going to take it from the perspective of someone who has an account, and then we'll mention sort of how to create a class and create an account for yourself.
Great, thank you so much.
Yep.
I think that will answer, I think that will answer Julie, your question, and Marianne, your question, and then and then your question, Nicole, I hope. Thanks, sorry, Stephen, go ahead.
No, you're all good, all good. Perfect, so right now, assume I'm a teacher, account has been created for me. classes have been created for me, and I'm on my class page now. So again, just assume that this is your page. Assume that history is your class. Now you want to start sending messages out. So to send a message, really easy. You're on your class page here. And again, I have 2 classes under my account. I have Math 102 and I have History. So I'm just using History as the example. If I click on this blue box right here, that will allow me to send my message out. So click on the blue box, click Message, and this will bring up the first window. And the first window is going to ask you who this message is going out to. Now, as I scroll down, you're going to see the class that you're a part of, or that you essentially own, that you're a teacher of. If I select Math 102 or History, I'll be sending that message out to everyone in that class. So again, I'll just use History as the example, click History. I can then filter this message down by any other teachers that were in my class, just the students, just the parents, or any other admins who may be in this class as well. So again, you can sort of get creative on who this message goes out to if you need to, or you can just send it to everyone within that particular class. Now, if I want to engage in a one-on-one conversation, I can either scroll down a bit and go through my entire people list in my school, or I can search here in the search field. So a couple of different ways. And if I were to select either one name or a group of names, that would be sort of not necessarily either one-on-one conversation or group conversation is what we call it. So again, the 3 types of messages that we can really send out, those class-wide messages, and then a one-on-one conversation, and then a group conversation by either searching for their name or scrolling down on the people list. And the same functionality works on the app. So I'm showing you the web version now, but same thing on the mobile app. So just for the sake of this example, I'm going to send a message out to everyone in my history class. As I click continue, it's going to allow me to essentially enhance my message. So if I just type in test and I select send, that will send my message out. I can also translate this message. So again, remember I was saying that there were 2 ways of translating. One is manual, one is automatic. For the manual option, this is in 85 languages. Our auto translate is in about 9 right now. If I click translate, all the languages I can translate are listed here. I can also search for it in the search field. So I'll just use Spanish as the example. So sort of a best practice we have, type in the English version, copy it, and then as a translated version appears, you can just paste the English version right on top. Now, if I want to schedule this message out, I can just hit schedule here. And this will allow me to schedule this message out for a week from now, 2 weeks from now, a month, or 2 months from now as well. So I have a lot of teachers who, beginning of the week, they'll do their lesson planning. So they'll set all their messages in advance and sort of set and forget it. Within this message, I can also upload a photo or video. I can also upload a file. If I'm connected to Google Classroom, I can connect my Google Classroom account and essentially pull in content from there. If I wanted to do a video conference, I can attach a Zoom link to a video meeting as well. So a couple different things. We also have a partnership with SurveyMonkey, just in case you want to send any surveys or forms out to families. You can also do that directly from the message composer here. So a couple different ways of sending out a message. So what I just showed you is essentially how to select who this message goes out to, and then how to enhance that message. So how to schedule it, how to translate it, how to attach a file, and then potentially even include a video conference link. Any specific questions on messaging? Maria, I'm not sure if you see anything specific to messaging. If not, I'm still going to address the question you asked, but anything about messaging in general?
No, not
Okay.
for you to answer. No.
Perfect. So let me jump out of messaging.
Well,
As you can see,
I do have a question if you don't mind.
yeah, please.
Texting my friends here trying to figure this out because I feel like I'm missing something basic. When you send out a message like this, is it going to kids' emails or is it going to their phones? I'm really lost here.
No worries. So it's going to depend how we register them. So during the rostering phase, in your student information system, your school is either going to have a student's phone number or email address. So just depending on whichever the district has, whichever the district is registering folks in, so because we create accounts based off contact points. So if the district feeds us the email address, that's how you'll be communicating. If it's by phone, that's how you.
I can't imagine that we would communicate with kids' phones. I don't think.
Yeah. Well, at least
Yeah.
initially. So,
Okay.
so the first time we roster, we're going to base it around that contact point, and then they can then go in and add a phone number, add an email, download the app. It's just for that initial account creation.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep. And then actually, good segue from Abby's question. So I've sent a message out, and I want to see essentially who's read that message and who hasn't read that message. So I just sent this one out today, so the readings probably won't be great, but let me jump into another message I sent out. A little lag here. Here we go. And again, excuse the red marks here. So I've sent this message out. If I want to just see who's read my message, I can click on the message and it'll pull up a message summary for me. And that message summary will tell me if the message was read, delivered, and if there were any errors on that message. And read means that they've gone to the mobile app, they've opened the message in the app, or they've opened the text message. Some mobile carriers provide us insight into whether a text message was read. For the ones that don't, it'll just appear as delivered. So between read and delivered, you'll have a pretty good indication that at the very least the message was sent out and received, of course. And it's the error reporting that every once in a while you want to check. Of course, you may have a student or parent who, for one reason or another, changes phone numbers, and that error reporting will show up under errors. So again, that's after I've sent out a message, and I just want to quickly check the error reporting on that. Great. I should head back to my school. So I've sent a message out. I've checked if it was received. If I have a student who, I've sent, for instance, if I've sent a homework assignment through Remind or a syllabus, and I have a student who asks for that same document, those files, so all the assignments that you do send out will live in the Files tab. So again, I'm on my class page, so I'm on my history page, and in my profile, it's to the left-hand side. I passed messages because I've already sent the message out. Again, I've already checked if the message was read. Now I've gone to the Files tab. And again, your students will also have access to this just so they can view past files that were sent out. Now, if I want to make a phone call through Remind, I can do so right from the class page. So as you can see here, I've called my colleague Mark a couple times. Oops, I need to do that. Let me head back here. Yep, calls. So through Remind, you can make a phone call, and essentially it's going to act as a same way. If you're familiar with Google Voice, same exact way. If I make a phone call out to Marie, my cell phone number is not going to show up on Marie's phone. It'll be a number that Remind generates between us, and that number is going to act as a bridge between us as well. So if Marie were to call that number back a week from now, a month from now, that number is still going to work as long as Marie's, who's a parent or student, is in my class. And then after the call, a window's going to appear where I'll be able to leave a note on that call, just because I want to reference back to it. And then we're also going to timestamp that call for you. So a couple different ways of tracking your phone calls. And again, just to make that phone call, I'm on the call tab here. And if I select make a call, that's going to bring up a list of all the folks who have cell phone numbers within Remind. Again, going back to Abby's question, you may have some folks who were registered or we created accounts based on their email address. So if they go in, they enter in a cell phone number, or if they were registered with a cell phone number, their name will be highlighted so you can call them directly from Remind. So you can do this with the mobile app or through Remind as well. And then add people. So for the most part, I'd probably say 85 to 90% of your classes will be populated by way of rostering. So again, with rostering, we're gonna pull in information from your student bank, populate your classes based on that information. But if for whatever reason you need to invite someone into your class, let's say it was a band and that information is not in your SIS, for instance, a couple different ways you can add people. You can add them if you have their phone number or email. So type in a student's name, phone number, email, and then just click add people. You can also do that for parents or other teachers. Just in case you have teacher's aid or anything like that, you can add them as well. You can also invite them to essentially join your class. So I clicked on Printable PDF, and this gives me PDF instructions on how to join history. History is my class. So it gives folks instructions, so your parents and students instructions on how to join your class. And then you can translate this message or this PDF in Spanish, French, and Portuguese. You can also share a link, or if they're nearby, they can also text to join your class. So that's sort of how to add people to your class. For the most part, your classes will be populated, your classes will be created, but if for whatever reason you have a unique class or a class that's not in Clever and you want to add a class to the school, you would just click on create a class right to the left here. That's how you create a class. So create a class. For instance, I'll use band as my example. I can connect it to my school. Once I click create, that'll create essentially what you see here, my history class. And then you can populate it with your folks. So again, for the most part, Clever will be creating classes for you, but for the folks either not in Clever or have a class that's outside of Clever, outside of your student information system, you will have to create that class, and you can just invite folks into that class as well. So you can invite them to join, or you can manually add them to your class. Now, before I jump into personal settings, I definitely want to answer any questions on the class level. So any questions in regard to phone calls, sending out a message, adding people, or creating a class?
I want to clarify, am I able to use this in order to use my home phone to make phone calls to parents?
Not your home phone, but what you can do, you can essentially use the web portal, which will make the phone call over the internet, essentially. So that's not necessarily using your home phone, but because there's not a sort of a direct sort of digital connection there.
So just as I'm talking to you right now, I could talk to the parents.
Yep, you have to be on the web portal. So go on the website, log in, click just like I'm doing, click make a call, and that'll work.
And I would be able to call their home phone numbers then.
Oh yeah, yeah. You would be able to call their home phone. That's right.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I had posted a question in the chat. Is this going to, it's creating a log, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Of calls that we make. And so I see that as useful right there because it saves me a step of having to create a log. Is there any place that we can put notes about?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Let me see if I have a great slide. So after the call has been complete, and I'll send, again, I'm going to be sending the slides afterwards.
Cool. Okay. I'm going to go downstairs.
After the call is complete, this window is going to pop up. And let me zoom in just a little bit. And it's going to ask you to add call details and follow-ups here. So it's going to allow you to give a reason and just leave little notes for yourself, just in case you need to, again, refer back to a call a month ago or 2 months ago.
Follow up, if that combined, if I were, say I wanted to use Remind as my contact point or my portal, so to speak, for parent communication, would it combine the calls and the emails for a certain student?
Yes. And when you say combine, I'm just trying to.
There'd be a record for this one student, a given student, that included both a combination of email messages and calls.
I see. So it'll just live in separate sections. So let me go back to that. I think I understand what you're saying. So there won't be one screen that'll combine everything. And that's actually a really good potential product feature. But for right now, we just sort of separate the features essentially. So your call logs will be here, and your message logs will live in the message tab. So it'll be separated out. So I think your question was, if I were to click on one profile, or could I get a snapshot just for one individual person of all the calls and messages? Not right now, but that's a really good suggestion that I'm gonna sort of bring up with my team. But it is separate right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I wanna quickly chat on your personal settings. So what I did, I'm on my profile, I'm on my dashboard essentially. Top left is going to be your profile. So as I scroll down, this right here is going to be your signature. So as you send out messages, it will be signed as whatever you want to name it, Mr., Mrs. last name, or teacher, or whatever. As I scroll down, these are all the organizations and my roles within those organizations. But I definitely want to show notification preferences. So back to Abby's question a little bit earlier ago. As we register teachers, students, and parents, everyone really, we're going to initially essentially roster you or create your account based off one contact point. But you then have the opportunity to add additional contact points. So as you can see here, I was registered with an email address initially, but I've also added the phone number. I've also added the mobile app. And then I've determined how I want to be notified. So I have a few contact points here, but I've just let Remind know that I just want to receive messages by way of the mobile app. So just go to add devices, just in case you want to add devices. As I scroll down, a couple different things I want to show you. Receive calls through Remind. Of course, we don't want to sort of force anyone to receive calls if they don't necessarily want to receive calls. So they do have the option of selecting receive calls through Remind, which won't enable calls to come through. So just an FYI there. And then same thing with messages. If you want to turn off allow messages, you certainly have the ability to do so. I don't see many teachers do it, but I think we sort of have to allow folks the ability not to receive replies, at least, that you send out. But I definitely want to point out office hours. Office hours essentially lets Remind know the best time to reach you. So as you can see here, my office hours are from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., meaning all messages and all phone calls in that window will come through. Now, if it's outside of my window, so again, a parent contacts me at 8 p.m., 2 a.m., if it's a written message, they're going to get a note saying that my message reply will be delayed. That message will still come through for me. I'm just not going to get, one of those aggressive push notifications, or my phone's not going to vibrate, anything of that nature. So just gets it's a message that I'm essentially waiting for. I can still go into the app and check it, but Remind is not going to send you a push notification on that. And if it's a phone call, again, midnight, 2 a.m., whatever that looks like, we're going to route that directly to your voicemail if that's outside of office hours. So keep that in mind as well. That's how office hours works. I want to jump back out and see if anyone has any questions. So essentially what we just chatted through was how to send out a message, how to make a voice call, how to translate a message, how to add people to your class, and then your personal settings, or how to set your office hours.
So I think there might be a few questions. So maybe if you could, Sarah, I'm going to acknowledge you first. I see your question. But if you have questions, folks, maybe if you could click on participants and raise your hand, and then that way we can make sure that we get all your questions. There are about 170 of you here today. So if you can raise your hand if you have a question, but Sarah Haller, I will take your question first, and then I'll take any other questions that come through. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Marie. I actually haven't been able to find the raised hand option on the Zooms the last few days. I don't know if other people are seeing it, but I used to be able to see it. In any case, my question was just for those folks who are creating their own classes and it's not getting rostered automatically for them. So particularly I'm thinking about folks who are not classroom teachers. Will the data associated with each child follow them when you create that class? Like follow them as in whatever data the district has through Clever or through Aries or wherever it's getting the data. I just want to make sure it's going to come to.
It is, as long as you're using the same contact point. So I think what your question is, you've created a class, you want to invite someone into that class, a student who may not be rostered, rostered into your class, but you add them based on their cell phone number or their email address. Yes, their profile is going to follow them. So they're still going to sort of, all their history is going to join them as they join your class. So they won't have duplicate accounts in a sense. So to answer your question, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Christina Gonzalez has a question.
Oh, sorry. So I guess my question is there an outside number? Like, will we have an actual number that's assigned to us so that they could call us through a cell phone?
So you're going to have to call them first. That's how the number gets created. It gets created from your account the first time you make that phone call out. So you won't know beforehand until you make that phone call out.
And then we'll see that number and we say, call me back. Like if we have to leave a message, we give them that number to call us back on.
Yeah,
no?
most of my teachers, they'll typically let their parent know, hey, I'm going to call you at whatever it is, 1 p.m. today. It's not going to be a number you recognize, but that will be me. And then you can save that number as, in my case, save it as Stephen, and that'll be our number together.
Okay, and the number is specific between you and that person, or the number is assigned to you?
So the number is assigned to you in the class. Sorry if I didn't make that clear. So the folks in your class will all share their same numbers. So I actually have teachers who the first day of school will call one person and then they'll share that number around the class. And that'll be your number between that and that class. That's how it's connected.
Oh, for that class. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Dave has a question. Dave Hoving.
All right. Yeah, Dave. If a call arrives after hours, does it go to my phone's voicemail or to some voicemail in Remind? If it goes to my voicemail, does it ring me or does it bypass bugging me and go right into voicemail?
Just right to voicemail, to your voicemail.
That's cool. Thank you.
Patty Bruns has a question.
Hi, I guess I'm a little confused about the phone calls. So in order to be able to call people through the system, do you have to give the system a phone number of yours? Or can you do all of those phone calls through the browser?
So you have to give the system, our system, a phone number. And sort of, I'll get into the technical side. We are still making a phone call from essentially your number. If you're not connected to an internet connection. So either the call could be made through the web in a sense, or it could be made through your phone. And I hope I'm not getting too like in the weeds or confusing you even more now. But it's connected to your cell phone. As you make a phone call out, it will, on the back end, it is powered by your cell phone in a sense, but we just mask the number for you. It acts the same way as Google Voice does.
Okay. That was my question, because I wasn't sure if we needed to attach it to our phone number in order to use the system. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Knight has a question.
Yeah, hi. I just was wondering if the database is going to have parent guardian contact information to allow us to contact them easily, or is it just going to be students?
That's a question for the district. I'm assuming you are including parent information in Clever, and you are sending that through?
I would say parents, Chris. I think, yeah, I'd say parents. I think for the high school, I think I sort of understand that it might be different in terms of how you communicate, but I think at our initial sort of point of rostering, it would be parents, but I will certainly double check with Dan, but I'll say parents right now.
Cool, thanks.
Trivia has a question, and then Sarah Haller has a question.
Yeah, sorry, I'm logged into another Zoom meeting at the same time for math placement tests. Hi, I was just wondering, so I have the Remind app because I use this. Can you place calls through the Remind app with your phone, or do you have to log into the web? Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah. And then Maria, I might be able to take one more, but I do have my email address. If anyone has any additional questions, I'm happy to follow up as questions come along.
Okay, so I'm gonna let Sarah Haller have the last question.
Oh, thank you. But just to follow up to something you had said earlier, Steve, I think you said that each class will have, you have to make a call to at least one person in a class for it to generate your number, and then you can share that number with everyone in that class. But if you have multiple classes, does that mean that each class will have a unique number in which to contact you on?
It will. So we
There's
don't
no way
necessarily
to change that, right? Other than
your profile's not going to be. Yeah. I'll let you go.
Okay. So unless you make an intentional choice to keep all your students that you plan to communicate with in one quote unquote class, and you're really primarily only planning on using this product for the purposes of having a phone number that parents can use to reach you directly, then that might be the best way for specialists who don't really have a class.
That's correct.
To only be dealing with one phone number to keep it cleaner and easier.
That's correct. Yeah, you got it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep. And then I'm noticing a trend on voice calls. So after this, Maria, I'm going to send you just sort of a detailed just sort of guide on our voice calls.
Yeah, so thank you everybody for coming, and thank you, Steve. I know you have to drop
Absolutely.
off the call. But what I want to say is that the purpose of today was sort of just a brief introduction so that folks know what's coming. Once this integration is complete and you start to get the emails, then we will be sure to get Remind back out to provide some more support and training to us to use the tool. We, in particular, secured the services of the Remind product for the phone calling feature, right? So the other things that it sort of seems like Remind does, but some of our other tools do, we're not switching over to Remind exclusively. We think that there are some great features that can be useful, but in particular, we were interested in the phone number feature, the calling feature, and so that's why we went after Remind. So thank you, Stephen. If you have to go, I totally understand. And there are lots of really great questions that you all popped into the chat here. And so we will keep a record of those. And as we go forward, we'll try to answer these questions for you. I think once you get the email and can get logged in, it will maybe make more sense. It'll be a bit more intuitive maybe than it sort of seems now without sort of just even the context of having an account to sign into. So no stress. It's Friday. This is some good information and we'll come back to you with some more information, okay? Stephen has to go.
Yep, if you want to send those
Stephen.
questions to me, totally great. I'm also happy, excuse me, after we have accounts set up, because it'll start coming together as you're like in the platform and using it. Happy to jump on another call, but thank you all. Appreciate it. Happy Friday. Have a good weekend. Chat soon.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
Oh, hold on. I'm still here. Okay, so we will, we'll definitely get Remind to come back out and work with you all. And I have all your questions. And so thank you guys for coming. And I don't think I can answer any more questions, so I won't try to and give you wrong answers. I'll just tell you that I hope you have a really great rest of your Friday. I'll hang around in the room here if anybody wants to check in about anything, but if not, have a great day.